This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1159 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the Western Radio Show here on the Horse Radio Network. Dan Steers from Double Dan Horsemanship talks about controlling your horse in 4 parts. And we'll get right to our tip after this important message from EquestrianCollections.com.
Hi, Glenn here, and I am talking with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with the product of the week.
Hey, Glenn, and you know what? Everybody is shedding now. You know, my horse is a black and white gypsy, mostly white, and I look like a polar bear when I come out from grooming him these days. And so I was thinking that I should feature a shedding blade, and I found one that was very unique. It's the Gruma opening shedding blade. And there's 2 things that I found that makes this pretty unique and pretty cool. And one is that it has thin, blade, the teeth on one side are smaller and more fine, and then the teeth on the other side are your regular kind that you can get good on the body. So I thought this was really kind of a neat thing you can use in all different parts of the horse's body, with the fine side and the coarse side. Also, it locks. Instead of, how you have to put them together and you pull that thing through and through the loop, this is different. You just close it up and the little loop's at the bottom and it locks in place. If you want to use it as a round thing, or if you want to put it together like that and hang it on the wall, which is what I do. This was just a sort of a new design for a shedding blade. So that's why I wanted to feature that today. But, of course, everybody knows that it's shedding time, and it's time to get some new shedding blades, because let me tell you, if you don't replace them every year, then those teeth get dulled, and it doesn't do nearly the good job that you need to. So you need to replace your shedding blade. So for, $11, you can get this whole new cool one.
And that's the Gruma opening shedding blade. You can find it at EquestrianCollections.com. Just search for Gruma, Grooma. Just put in shedding blade, and it will pop up. I do like the design, and here in Florida, the sand really kills the teeth. So, and I know mud does as well. So you're absolutely right. It's time to look for a new one, and why not the best one on the market?
There you go. Thanks a lot, Glenn.
Sure. Well, I have, my philosophy on riding horses, we set it up in our program and calling it body control because, like you just said, a lot of horse riding is body control. Initially, when we start riding horses, we're just taught to pull your left rein and they'll go left, pull your right rein, they'll go right, kick them to make them go forward and pull them to stop them. When you start to, get into your horsemanship and your training, you start to realize that you really need a lot more control than that. So when I look at my body control, I look at my horse, he's set up in 4 different parts, and one of those is his head and neck, or that's his first part, then his shoulders, then his rib cage, and then his hindquarters. So when I'm riding my horses, I'm looking at breaking all those parts down. So when I look at the head and the neck, that comes from the bridle. So with all my horses, if I pull the rein, they'll look in that direction. So I make my reins connect to the horse's head and neck, and that's all it's connected to.
Right.
Then my feet are connected to the horse's shoulders, rib cage, and hindquarters. And how I break this down for my colt is my foot position closest to the girth is my shoulder control.
Yep.
Slightly behind that becomes my rib cage, and slightly behind my rib cage becomes my hindquarter. So I have 3 cues there to move body parts. Then what I teach my colt through being able to bend his head and neck is then the direction I can take his shoulders. So if I have his head bent to the right, and I have my foot cue closest to his girth, well, that would be a shoulder out exercise. So he would be looking to the right and his shoulders would be going to the left. Now, if I have my right leg in that position closest to the girth and I take his nose to the left, then that would become a shoulder in exercise. So that could become a spin. It could be a roll back. I mean, it could be a lot of different maneuvers depending on how you set that up. Then from there, of course, I do rib cage and hindquarters. And when you can break all those positions down, that means that horse is understanding how you control his body. So if you want him just to turn on the hindquarter, then you would just have your foot in that position and you would ask his shoulders to move. Now, because your foot isn't in a position asking the hindquarter to move, the hindquarter shouldn't move. So when I talk to people in a clinic sense, I talk about it and say, well, we need to be able to control the horse 100% of the time. If he moves a part of his body without being asked, even if it's doing a maneuver, let's say, the horse gets confused and he does a maneuver that we're not asking, that to me becomes an out of control or uncontrolled maneuver. So a lot of times, I guess, when we're talking horses, when we think a horse is out of control, we always think that he's, bolting or bucking or rearing or doing something dangerous. Where I'm talking about out of control is just literally the horse taking one step without being asked.
Right.
So all my horses I want to be in control of 100% of the time. So when you can get your horse working and operating and understanding this, then that means your horse will only take the steps that is being asked. So if you say, I just want you to move the shoulder, you put your leg in that position, you bend the head and the neck in the direction you want the shoulders to go, and you ask the horse to step. You move your leg, behind that in that third position, and he'll move the hindquarters and move the front end, and leave the front end, I should say.
Right.
So that's, I guess, my philosophy on body control. And you can get control over this within the first ride. And I'll actually be asking just a little bit at road to the horse because, there's not a whole lot of time.
Right.
But I'll be starting to break down those maneuvers with my colt straight away as far as being able to disengage the hindquarters as well as move the shoulders will be the two things that I work on within my sessions. And I find those horses pick it up really quickly and then you just develop it and refine it over time.
Well, there you go. Brings a whole new meaning to 4-part harmony. And you can find lots more tips on topics ranging from barn care to websites for horse people at horsetipdaily.com. Just look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you through the generous support of EquestrianCollections.com and listeners like you. If you would like to support Horse Tip Daily on the Horse Radio Network, just go to horsetipdaily.com and look for the Become an Auditor banner in the center of the page. Now you can also have the Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go with our free Horse Radio Network app for both iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.